Today's topic, 21 questions to ask your boyfriend. Oh god, that's a good start for an episode, me laughing. But hey, anyway, I was just joking around with my girlfriend, so I'm in a good mood, and maybe that's why I wanted to share this topic with you about the 21 questions that you should ask your boyfriend. Because I told her that I would talk about this topic today, and she was asking me all kinds of very, very weird and stupid questions that I decided to not include in this episode. So let's get started. Do you sometimes doubt if the guy that you're dating right now is the right man for you? Do you want to make sure that he loves you with all your heart? Do you finally want to find out if the man you are with right now is really the man of your dreams? His answers to the following questions will reveal who he really is, and if you can imagine yourself spending the rest of your life with him. What is your biggest passion in life? That's the first question that I would ask my boyfriend, or let's say my girlfriend in this sense. Let's say it like this, you should ask your boyfriend this question. That's what I wanted to say. What is your biggest passion in life? Because you want a guy who is passionate about life and who also lives his passion. Because if your boyfriend, for example, tells you that he's passionate about something, but you know for sure that he doesn't live his passion, then he might be very prone to negative feelings, to regret, to resentment, and in the worst case, to depression. Because as human beings, if we don't live our passion, we suffer. And what is the first thing on your bucket list? This is also an extremely powerful question. Because you want to experience unforgettable adventures with him. You want him to live his life to the fullest, but you want to live your life with him. And if you ask him this simple question, what is the first thing on your bucket list? What's on top of your bucket list? What is your priority? What do you really want to do before you say goodbye on this planet? This can reveal a lot about himself, and it can also show you whether or not you want to experience this with him. And it also reveals something about his values. Have you ever hurt another human being? This is a very powerful but also a very tricky question, because this can be physical or emotional. Everyone has done something that hurt another human being, even if it was just you say something to another person or you say something to an ex-partner that you want to take back, that you just say because you are in an emotional drama mode at the moment. We've all done it. However, when it comes to the more extreme things, this should show you whether or not he demonstrates red flags that you shouldn't ignore. For example, one of my Skype coaching clients, she asked this question her boyfriend, and he then just nonchalant, as if it was no big deal, admitted that, once my ex-girlfriend was driving me crazy and I hit her. And she was like, oh, what? And when I then had the next Skype coaching session with her and she told me about this, I gave her the honest advice to leave this guy. If he says without any emotional reaction at all that he has hit a woman in the past, then he for sure will do it again, or at least there's the possibility. Another powerful question that you should ask your boyfriend is, how is your relationship with your mother? We've all heard the famous daddy issues, that if a woman has a very bad relationship with her dad, then there's often some problem with men. And in case this is you, it's not your fault, you can overcome this trauma. And you can work with me on overcoming this trauma. It's just that as human beings, and this is true for men and for women, we often mirror the relationships that we saw our parents have, and that we also have with our own parents. And even though a lot of people talk about daddy issues, nobody really talks about mommy issues. But this is the same principle and the same psychological result. If his relationship with his mother is really, really bad, be careful. And if he actually shows red flags, then you can tell him, hey, you should work on these issues. Maybe you should seek counseling, coaching, therapy, whatever it might be, or there will be a problem. Because I promise you, if men and women, like I said, it's true for both men and women, if we as human beings don't overcome these childhood traumata, we just continue to carry them around for years and years and years, and we act from this trauma in a subconscious way without actually consciously realizing it. And this is very dangerous for a relationship, at least if you want to have a fulfilling relationship with him. Have you ever been addicted to something? This can be a tricky question because on the one hand, a lot of people overcome addiction, and that's really, really amazing. But if he's been addicted to something and you then realize that he still falls into the same patterns, then be careful. And this is actually something that makes me a little bit emotional right now, because one of my family members, he basically drank himself to death. So I know firsthand what it means when somebody says, no, I'm not that person anymore. No, don't worry. But his actions show the opposite. So be very careful when you ask this question. You might not necessarily like his answer. What are you most proud of? Maybe the relationship with you, maybe an accomplishment. Find out what makes him feel proud. This already reveals a lot about his past experiences and also about his personality. What would you do with $1 million? There's always two types of people when it comes to this question, or let's say when it comes to answering this question. There are the people who would indulge in mindless ego-based spending, or the people who would help others. And I actually asked my girlfriend this question very early on in our dating process. And she just said, I would give a lot of money to charity. And that's also my point of view. I give a lot of money to charity. And when she said that to me, I was like, whoa, she's the right girl for me. How do you imagine your life in 10 years? When he shares this with you, listen very carefully. Does he mention you? This is the most important thing when it comes to this question. Does he actually mention you when you ask him, how do you see your life in 10 years? If he tells you, yeah, I'm traveling the world alone and I'm living alone in this country and then you might be thinking, does this relationship have a future? But what if he includes you in this picture? Then ask the next question. How do you imagine our life in 10 years? Can you imagine this life with him? If he, for example, tells you he wants to travel the world, he doesn't want to have a family and he just wants to enjoy traveling with you, but you want to start a family with him and live in this country, in this city, till the end of days, now you have a problem, and it's important that you find that out. Is there something you absolutely hate? Don't do it. It's as simple as that. If you ask your boyfriend this question, is there something you absolutely hate? You just don't do it. For me, for example, it's horror movies. I just don't understand how anyone on this planet could watch something deliberately that makes them feel worse, that makes them feel anxious, that makes them feel depressed, that makes them feel in shock. I just don't understand it. So if I would date a woman who always wants to watch horror movies with me, that wouldn't work. So if you find out what he actually hates, you can avoid doing these things with him. What would you change about me? And this can be very painful, but also very insightful. Because if he tells you, hey, by the way, I would change this, instead of going, what? How can you say that? Remember that you allow him to be open about that by asking these questions. If you then react in an offended way or in an aggressive way, then you destroyed all the trust that you built up until this moment. Because now he will think to himself, okay, she's asking me these questions, but she doesn't want me to be honest. So with this question, remember that the answer that you might get is not the answer that you want to hear. What areas of your life could you still improve? Now we turn the tables. And this can lead to new insights for him. Just let him think about these things. What kind of things could you improve? And a lot of men, at least men, who want to achieve something, who want to be successful, are honest to themselves when it comes to their weaknesses. And they say, hey, this woman encourages me to be better. That's awesome. And here are the things that I want to improve. What fantasy have you never shared with anyone? Maybe you want to try it with him. This can be a very, very naughty question, especially when the answer shocks you. And some of my Skype coaching clients told me that when their boyfriend finally opened up about his deepest fantasies, they were just staring at him with their mouth wide open going, okay. So be prepared. What part of our relationship do you enjoy the most? This tells you what he values in your relationship. And this also allows you to focus on this aspect even more. But I promise you one thing. If you click on the link in the description and you find out more about his secret obsession, which in my opinion is the best program for every woman who wants to make a man obsessed with her. And yes, these techniques work with a man you just met, and they also work with a man you're already in a relationship with. So if you're asking yourself right now, hey, I'm with this guy, but things are not as exciting and as amazing as they were, and hey, maybe he even thinks about leaving me, then click on the link in the description, find out how 7 of my coaching clients changed their relationships and their dating life by using these techniques. These are all things that you will discover in my review, and then decide for yourself if you want to invest in this amazing program. The link is in the description. Where do you always want to live? Maybe you can live there together, or maybe you don't want to live there at all. This can lead to problems in the long term. Do you think it's possible that men and women are friends? This is a very sneaky question, because this is the fastest way to find out if his female friends are really just his friends. What phobias do you have? This is as important as the question, what do you hate the most? Because when it comes to phobias, they are most of the time, not always, but most of the time based in childhood trauma. And then you simply have to avoid these things with him, and you also have the chance to actively work with him on these things and help him to become a better man and a better human being. Who do you admire the most? This is also a very important question that you can ask him, because if he would then say, oh, you know, this dictator there, I really love him, then you might be, he might not be the guy of my dreams. In the same way as if a woman would tell me, you know, I admire Kim Kardashian the most, I would say to myself, there might be a mismatch here. We might not be that compatible. This will tell you a lot about him and who he wants to become, because the people we admire are the people we want to become. What kind of life do you absolutely not want to live? This is a very important question, because if he then says, yeah, you know, I could never imagine being married and having children, and you say, but that's exactly what I want, then you have a problem there. Or the opposite might be true and you don't want to have children, and he tells you, I could never live a life without having children. Then you might not be compatible, or not just might, then you are not compatible. What motivates you the most to get out of bed in the morning? This reveals his values, this reveals who he truly is, and it also reveals who he wants to become and what he wants to achieve. And the last question that you can ask your boyfriend, what is your biggest fear? If he opens up and he shares it with you, then he really loves you. And I could ask you the same question. What is your biggest fear? Is it to never find the right man? Is it now that you are already in a relationship to lose this man? What are you afraid of? What do you want to work on? What do you want to achieve? What kind of dating life do you want to have? If you're ready to work on your dating life and to improve your dating life, then you can click on the second link in the description and inquire for a Skype coaching session with me. And we can work together on making sure that you achieve your dating goals and that you get the man of your dreams and keep the man of your dreams. And if you enjoyed watching this video, if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section below. Share your opinion, share your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. And I would love it even more if you would hit the subscribe button and smash that notification bell so that you get notified whenever I release a new video for you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video.